Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Yes, it is me. I'll get over my laryngitis, but trying to plow through this. Delighted to have in the studio with us today our good friend, Bryan Platt. He's the Executive Director for Jackson County Right to Life and one passionate man on this issue, giving us an update and opportunities for a lot of people to get involved in the big picture. Good to see you, bud.
Thank you, Perry. Yeah, and this might be a good time for everybody to reach for a tablet and a pen. How's that?
Okay.
Yeah, we got assignments.
Assignments.
Yeah, assignments.
All right, so whether you're an adult or a young person, there's something for everybody here. This is a smorgasbord of opportunity. So let's start in. What do you got for us?
Well, that is true. It is a smorgasbord, but really, I think the overarching theme this morning is youth, youth, youth. We got to talk about the youth. The youth are our future. I mean, our future and the future of the pro-life movement.
Right.
So let's get into that by starting to talk about the Oregon Right to Life contest, the pro-life contest. This year's theme is We All Start Small, which I think is very clever. And, you know, I'm sure they just rack their brains every year trying to come up with something new and creative, but we all start small. So there are a number of components to this contest, so you can participate pretty much at any age level, but it is designed for the youth. So, and we have local coordinators. And so what we're trying to do is get this information out to everybody. We haven't had the greatest participation in this thing in the past, Perry, and it's frustrating to us. Again, the youth are our future. And from my perspective, you know, we get a couple of our grandkids involved in it. It can be done at a very low information level, okay, you know, or when you get into the high schoolers or even into the adult video contest, it can be really dramatic and profound. But anyhow, so we have participation in everything from kindergarten all the way through high school and on into young adulthood. So we have drawing contests, which again, using the theme We All Start Small, are broken into different age groups from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. And then we have essay contests where they write again on the theme of We All Start Small, and those are from 5th grade and broken into different age groups, 5th grade up to 12th grade. Then we have the oratory contest, which is where it starts getting really serious, and this would be for junior and high school, seniors in high school. They don't necessarily have to incorporate the theme We All Start Small for the oratory contest, but the stakes are a lot higher. And what I mean by that is, first of all, the first place finisher in Jackson County gets a $50 cash prize for winning the contest. Then they go to Portland for the state convention, which is April 9th. It's at the Holiday Inn Express right there on Airport Row. Right. And they compete against other county finalists for a $500 cash prize and an all-expense-paid trip to the National Right to Life Convention, which this year I did my research. It's actually on July 9th, and it's in Herndon, Virginia, which I presume is somewhere around the Beltway, someplace. Anyhow, so that's an all-expense paid to compete nationally. Now, we've had a couple of our kids from Josephine and Jackson County that have competed in previous years, and we've gone as high as 2nd in the country. Wow. And, you know, but I think the overarching point of the whole contest, Perry, is you get the kids started at an early age. You get them started at an early age. Get them thinking the pro-life message. And these kids, I think in the essays and in the oratory contest, the energy and the effort that they put in to preparing that message sticks with them the rest of their life.
It really does. And again, not only can you do it as a family or as an individual, think about having this as a project within your Sunday school class and or any other group that you may have, because this is a wonderful opportunity. And Bryan's absolutely right. What we're trying to do here is get young people involved in this issue at an early age. And we are turning a lot of heads. A lot of young people are realizing it is a baby. It's not a fetus. Now, was it interesting? The pushback on the Doritos Super Bowl commercial was, you're humanizing a fetus. Really? When I heard that term, I went, huh?
I'm going to give you a little later. I'm going to give you a little background on that.
Okay. Anyway, so what do they do? Where do they get the info?
Well, okay, so first of all, I gave some to Sue, bless her heart, so she has some applications out there. Now, you can also go onto the Oregon Right to Life website, which is simply ortl.org, and print out a form. There's nothing official about these forms. You can photocopy them or whatever. But also on the, not to overload people, but on the Jackson County Right to Life website, which is jacksoncountyprolife.org, there's contact information for Dale, who's handling the oratory portion, and my wife Val, who's doing the posters and the essays. Adults can also participate in the film or video segment, and that information is also on the website. So you hit it right on the head. Sunday school classes, youth groups, we've had homeschoolers involved in the past, but anyone whose family is pro-life, or I presume would be one of the criteria, could get their children involved in this thing. And again, this is life. I think this is life-changing stuff for these kids.
And I have to tell you, when you see some of the posters of the past, you see some of the essays of the past and some of the oratory deliverances of the past, they are very impressive. And I got to tell you, it gives me great hope for the future.
You know, if Jesus tarries, we've got to get this next generation up and at them. And there's a lot, we're going to talk about some more stuff. I mean, there's a lot of reason for optimism as far as the pro-life movement goes, Barry. Yeah.
What else you got coming up?
Okay, so the other one that we want to talk about in somewhat thoroughly is the Right to Life, the petition. And of course, the petition seeks to create a constitutional amendment which bans the use of yours and mine's taxpayer money to pay for elective abortion in the state of Oregon. So right now, you and I heard you mention it earlier today, are paying for somewhere between 8, 9, 10 babies to be killed each and every day. If you pay income tax to the state of Oregon, you're complicit in that slaughter. And what I want to do is maybe just go back a little bit, well, not even a little bit. I thought it was interesting. We would go back, maybe you could say, to the very beginning of the history of Oregon and laws with respect to regulating abortion. You know, Oregon was actually one of the very first states in the United States that passed a law that made abortion legal. Now, this was pre-Roe v. Wade in 1969. And interestingly, at that time, since there was no Roe v. Wade, so it was state by state. There was no overarching controlling federal regulation. So it was a state by state thing. Interestingly, when this came out in 1969, they actually had limits on abortion, the regulation of the abortion. Amongst them was the baby had to have been determined to have a physical or mental handicap, the baby was conceived by rape, or the pregnancy posed a substantial risk to the mother's physical or mental health. So those were the parameters which made an abortion legal. But interestingly, along with that, it required, the law that was passed required all abortions to be performed by a physician in a hospital, and 2 physicians had to certify in writing that the woman's circumstances justified the abortion.
Wow.
We would be blessed to have that in Oregon right now. Right. That was in 1969. Okay, fast forward to 1973. Now, the United States Supreme Court ruled in Roe v. Wade, which, for all intents and purposes, unregulated abortion on demand through all 9 months of pregnancy. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time. I mean, there were windows of opportunity open to states based on trimesters, which give states the ability to restrict abortion, but that wasn't good enough for Oregon.
Wow.
So now Oregon's got this little law in place over here that they had prior to Roe v. Wade, but Roe v. Wade essentially liberalized the context in which an abortion could be done. There wasn't necessarily any need for a hospital. There wasn't necessarily any need for 2 doctors.
Right.
So Oregon, in their infinite wisdom, forgive the sarcasm here, went back to the legislature in 1983, repealed their previous 1969 law, and put in place a law that, should Roe ever be repealed, made Oregon an unrestricted, unfettered abortion-on-demand state so that, again, if Roe v. Wade's trimester thing, which had the tiniest little wiggle room for a state to regulate abortion, was taken away, Oregon would lock themselves in as the champion of abortion rights in the entire United States. So, yeah, so we've got a chart. We finally got it in a digital form. And guys, if you can pull that chart up, this chart is the one that I've brought here so many times on the big piece of poster board. And what it shows, and it's kind of hard, I realize it's small, but the chart, what it's showing is the state's ability to regulate abortion based on what Roe v. Wade and Doe Bolton allow, starting at the very top and then going down on the left-hand side, a list of all 50 states. Across the top, the very first state in terms of actually regulating abortions, the state of Oklahoma, with something like 22 or 24 regulations in place. And you go all the way down, and the different colors represent different types of regulations, but go all the way down to the bottom. And there's one box down there, or one last state listed down at the very bottom with no color whatsoever, and that's the state of Oregon. So that's where we stand right now, the only state in the United States with absolutely no regulations on abortion. And so the part of the excitement or the drive behind this constitutional provision that we're trying to pass is this would be our first regulation on abortion essentially since Roe v. Wade has been passed. This will be the first one. We are without regulation.
Let me take a quick break. When we come back, tell people how they can get the petitions and get involved.
Okay, so we want to do that now? Or
when I come back.
Okay, when we come back.
We'll be right back with one energized Bryan Platt.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.
Okay, we're back with Bryan Platt, Executive Director at Jackson County Right to Life. And did you know that your tax dollars in the state of Oregon is paying between 8 and 10 babies to be killed a day? And you have no say over it until now. And we're going to reinstitute the petition drive. It's already out, ready to go.
Well, actually, we're not quite there yet. Okay. So I'm going to kind of back up, just take one more run at this. We have another chart that I wanted to show people. It talks about what the state of Oregon has done with our tax money. And the raw numbers are, in the last 12 years, $20.1 million of your tax money, and more or less 45,000 babies aborted. This, again, these are elective abortions. This has nothing to do with the physical health of the mother, which would be really the only justification for taking a baby's life, would be if the mother's life is literally in dire jeopardy. So we're paying we have paid in the last 12 years for 45,000 babies to be taken. And so the idea here is, if we pass a statute, then the state legislature can come in behind it and say, we don't agree with that. And with the current, makeup of the state legislature, that would be a likely outcome. All of our effort at gathering signatures as a statutory law would just go for naught when the legislature convened the next time and decided to repeal it. So this is a constitutional amendment. And because of that, the bar is much higher with respect to gathering of signatures. So the raw numbers there, 117,000 valid signatures. That means about 150,000 signatures, because some will be duplicates, some will be invalid. There are various reasons why some of those signatures will be thrown out. But I wanted to give you just kind of an update on what's going on with this right now. Was the Attorney General's office at the end of January approved a ballot title. Okay, so this is part of the process. Then there is a period of time for appeals to be filed. And as is typical, in fact, has happened the previous two times, NARAL, National Abortion Rights Action League, and Planned Parenthood both filed challenges to the ballot title, which automatically sends the issue to the state Supreme Court. So now we have the justices in the state Supreme Court determining the validity. These are very technical things, like commas over here and ifs instead of ands, or buts instead of thens, whatever it is. I mean, it's very technical. Frankly, I look at it on the computer screen and I don't even understand understand, what the differences are. But I think the overarching strategy of the enemies of this ballot measure would be the farther, the longer it's delayed, the more difficult it is for us to gather 150,000 signatures. We are expecting that process, as it has the last 2 times again, to terminate somewhere around the end of March. Okay. Then we will have the ballot title as best as the state Supreme Court will allow us to have it, and then the signature gathering process begins. So this is our time to plan. And so this is kind of where our audience comes back into play, Perry, is I would love to start seeing us schedule events, signature gathering events, and actually, so the minimums, if you signed this petition before, sign it again. If you signed this petition before, take another sheet with you and get one other person who didn't sign it in the last session to sign it, and we're way over the number that we needed. We had 98,000 the last time. Wow. Okay, so we were 2/3 of the way there. So if those 98,000 sign again and get one friend each, we're at 180 whatever thousand. We only need 117 thousand valid signatures. So those would be the minimums. Wow. But let's turn this into a youth project. Okay, let's turn this into a youth project. Let's get youth pastors in your churches involved and on board with the idea that our kids, with the energy that they have, could be our greatest asset as far as getting out and gathering these signatures. It's not likely that we're going to be paying for signature gatherers. We've got to do this on our own. And so, and just by the way, just because it's a common question, is there is no requirement in the law with respect to qualifications for a signature gatherer.
Okay.
Okay.
So a
minor can do it. Now, the signers have to be registered voters, and we'll get into that at some point in the future. But why not harness the energy of these high schoolers or even some junior high schoolers that understand the concept of what we're trying to do here, and let's get them involved in their churches, in their home groups, in their Bible studies, at whatever the venue is, campus life. And so that's something that I'm asking, I guess, people that are listening to consider, if they'd let me know what opportunities there might be out there for me to organize a meeting with the kids. I'll get my daughter, who's a pizza baron, to, throw some pizzas in, and, we'll make it fun for the kids. We'll explain what's going on, but let's harness their energy to gather signatures.
And the other thing I want to add here is, quite some time ago, in fact, I don't even know where I read it, but it was an interesting twist to all of this. By getting young people involved in the pro-life movement, especially at this level with the petitions, it subconsciously enforces into their heart and mind abstinence. And so it becomes a two-working system. You're saving lives and you're teaching morality at the same time.
Yeah.
So when young people are involved in the pro-life movement, they realize what the abstinence issue is all about. So anyway, it's a real opportunity for Sunday school classes.
Yeah. Now, we already have 2 training sessions organized, and so those we'll be making announcements on later, because there are some basic steps that a signature gatherer needs to be aware of. We can't just go out on the street willy-nilly and ask people to sign the petition, or we're going to find ourselves in trouble. But there's no problem with junior high or high school kids grasping not only the concept of the petition, but the specific restrictions on who can sign.
One other thing I wanted to make clear here, when you said if you signed it before, you can sign it again. If you signed the previous petition before, you don't want people signing the same petition twice.
Okay, correct. So the one from 2 years ago, that's the slate is wiped clean, we're starting over.
Right.
But we did have what we called sponsorship signers last fall around Thanksgiving, and if you were one of those initial signers last fall, and this would have been late, November-ish, early December, you have signed the petition, you're done. Now you can still participate in gathering signatures, but you can't sign it again. Is that kind of where you were?
Okay, well, I was trying to make it gets a little confusing, but believe me, when people give you the petition, they'll explain to you what you can do.
That's exactly right.
So.
Yep. And by the way, the website for volunteering, and this is easy, is OregonLifeUnited.org. OregonLifeUnited.org. All one word, OregonLifeUnited.org. Then there's a thing that says volunteer, and if you'll put your information there, that will get down to me. And by the way, we're looking for county leaders. Douglas, Josephine, Klamath, and Jackson. We need some people that are willing to give this. It's about a 4-month commitment, okay, from 1st of April to about the 1st of July is what we're talking about. Yeah.
All right. We're about 4 minutes. What do you got?
Okay, well, just one more thing for the youth as far as locally here goes. Camp Joshua. Oh. Another great opportunity. Now, this is for 16 to 21-year-olds. It happens over spring break. And essentially what I call it is a pro-life immersion for 3 days at a camp up just east of Salem. And Alan Schliemann from Stand to Reason, absolutely outstanding apologist for teaching people how to respond, in a pro-life, discussion environment. They go to the Capitol. They, sleep in these dormitories. They hang out together. Tremendous success stories of graduates from Camp Joshua. And there is a cost involved, but our chapter has really, we're all in on this thing. And so if you have a young person from 16 to 21 who's interested in Camp Joshua, the information, again, is on our website, jacksoncountyprolife.org, and our chapter will help with the financial end if that's all that's standing between that person and the camp. So we'd love to do that.
All right.
Okay, so...
By the way, that's coming up during
spring break.
March 20th to the 23rd.
Yeah. Okay, just before, I want to recap this other stuff, but just the Doritos deal.
Oh, okay.
The Doritos deal. So...
The Doritos commercial
and I'm sure you could find it on YouTube at this point in time. But I wanted to read to you just the backstory on this. Pete Carstairs.
They have it here on the screen.
Okay. Pete Carstairs, a Melbourne, Australia filmmaker, created the life-affirming commercial for the contest, said he was inspired after seeing his second child, Freddie, on an ultrasound screen. So there it is. He saw the actual ultrasound of his child. Carstairs said the ultrasound image that he used in the commercial actually is his son, Freddie, who's now 9 months old. Though Carstairs manipulated the son's ultrasound image for the commercial, his portrayal of unborn babies isn't far from the truth. Studies have shown unborn babies reacting to various stimuli in the womb, including music and sound. Researchers also found that unborn babies develop a sense of taste in the womb and learn to recognize the flavors and spices of the culture that they're born in.
Really?
Isn't that interesting?
So they're born Dorito addicted?
Apparently, if you're in that culture, I like Mexican food, it's okay, but the commercial was a hoot. Come on. Yeah. The commercial was a hoot. Yeah. And for whoever it was, Nerl or somebody, to come out and say, you can't do this, you're humanizing a fetus. Yeah. Again, Perry, if they lose that argument, which is the fetus a human being, they've lost. Yeah. Okay, so they can't. They had to put up some, but it just makes you realize just how foolish their whole argument is. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, folks, I really believe this. Now, Bryan has laid out a lot of things and a lot of opportunities, and so you need to get a hold of him, Jackson County Right to Life. You can go to the Oregon Right to Life, that's ORTL.org. What's the other one?
OregonLifeUnited.org for the petitions, or JacksonCountyProlife.org for the contests or contact information.
And I really want to encourage you, get your young people involved, get your Sunday school involved, your Bible clubs, whatever. I really believe this wholeheartedly. We get this issue turned around in the United States, then I believe God will help us fix all the other issues. But this is the paramount one. This is the one that will categorize America as being moral or immoral, and whether or not we're going to have or not have God's blessing. And I believe when we stop killing babies, God will bless America again. So get young people involved in this. It's an opportunity to teach them about what the Bible says. It's an opportunity to get their head turned around on the issue of sex and abstinence. And it's an opportunity for them to be involved in a battle that pays eternal dividends. You're terrific.
Oh, thank you, Perry. That was great. You hit it on the head.
All right. And if you need all those websites, call Sue. She's probably upset with me saying that, but give her a call. All right, we'll see you. We'll be right back.